Senior Living Today, brought to you by these fine sponsors: Wires Inc., First Class Realty, Triangle East, and Ward Specialty Pharmacy.
Hello, how are y'all doing tonight? Welcome to Senior Living Today. I am Devin Bolding. I have Cheryl Braswell, and we're going to hold off on introducing our guest tonight, but we are excited that you're here. We are missing Joey tonight. He is not feeling well, so we send him our prayers. And let's just go ahead and just dive right in. We have missed the last 2 weeks, so let's go ahead and kick this show off. Cheryl, why don't you start with who our sponsors are?
Yes, this week our sponsors, this is the people that make it possible for us to be here. Wires Inc., Brian West is the commander-in-chief out there, and these folks can make your vehicles look prettier, safer, and sound better. So go see them. Ward Pharmacy, Patrick Ignacio is the head pharmacist, and they are a compounding pharmacy. And if you're taking some different or expensive pharmaceuticals, it's worth a visit to Patrick to see if they can compound them for you. He has done that for me, for my family, for my dog, and it's definitely been a great experience for us, and was better on the pocketbook for us. And last is First Class Realty. Brett Hill's the lead broker there. They are an excellent source in this red-hot real estate market. They're great people to work with, whether you're buying or selling. They can help you navigate the madness. And this evening, we are very, very blessed to have with us Miss Denise Watkins. She is the owner of Skyview Skateland, and we're just going to talk about Skyview Skateland tonight and some of the things that they've been dealing with here this past year, and just about kind of the business of skating rinks and how all that works here.
And the benefit they bring to our community.
Amen.
Truly.
That is the truth. So I guess the simple question, Denise, is how did you get into this business?
Well, thank you for letting me be your guest this evening.
Ma'am.
It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I know both of these folks personally, and they are awesome people. Actually, I got into the business as a second-generation operator. My mom and dad built our rink in 1958. For those that don't know, they actually came to Rocky Mount in 1947. My father was a World War II vet, and my mother worked for the VA hospital in Fayetteville. They were in the Hope Mills area. So my dad actually had a brother in Wilmington in the drive-in theater business, and I guess that looked kind of interesting to my dad. So he thought, I think we can do that. So sure enough, they came to Rocky Mount out on the old Tarboro Highway. Bought, I would say it sits on maybe about 4 acres of land, and maybe it was 3. And they literally built that. That generation is known as the greatest generation, and my father was truly a jack of all trades, and they literally, built that whole property, the screen.
Wow.
One of the stories, they used, I guess, like, I'm going to say a sheet of plywood. I'm sure it was some other material, but they would use a pulley and a tractor. So they would attach this pulley to this big 4x8 sheet. My mother would drive the tractor, and it would rise up in front of the screen platform, and my dad would put it in place. And
oh my gosh.
We used to talk a little bit about a few things like that, because my mother was a very unique person too. She didn't mind rolling up her sleeves and getting her hands dirty, and she'd do whatever.
That is great.
But
amazing.
So how did y'all make the transition from the drive-in?
You have to realize the television's getting very popular in the 50s.
Right.
I think I Googled it, and by 1955, 50% of all homes in America had a television. So my father's thinking, now why are people going to come sit in a hot or a cold car to watch a movie when they can sit in the comfort of their home? So he just felt like, theaters may not survive. So he just thought about, what can I do that will complement that? So skating was a thing at that time. It was growing in popularity as well. So they just decided to build a skating rink. My dad was 39, and he did not know how to skate, so he had to learn how.
Wow.
A lot of people,
something that you don't even know how to use.
A lot of people do not know that fact. And again, my father built our rink as well. And he told me in the evenings he would practice skating around his dining room table. But it was going mighty slow. So he drove to Greensboro and took lessons from Howard Carter. He was the skating pro at that skating rink. So Howard taught him how to skate. Howard left Greensboro, and in '59 he opened Sunset Skating Center down in Wilmington. But
and do you know what the first skating rink in North Carolina was?
No. Well, let me back up. I'm wanting to think Fry's Roller Rink in Kannapolis. I think we are the third longest operating. And I think the first one is Fry's, and I believe they're in Kannapolis. There's Thomasville Skate Center, and then I think we are the next. We're the third oldest in the state of North Carolina.
And that just goes to show the legacy, truly, that y'all have built here.
And, again, both of those rinks are still operating. They're opening. I see those operators, we, as a matter of fact, we were at National Convention together, and it's interesting to exchange stories. And
talk a little, I know you and I talked about this way back when it kind of was first happening, but you are part of a group here in North Carolina, and y'all really kind of came to life when the pandemic hit, and y'all were, along with most everybody else, were getting closed down.
Right.
And
we have a national association called the Roller Skating Association. Not every rink is a member, but most rinks will be, and we are. So as soon as the pandemic started, the office in Indianapolis, Indiana, started having what they call town hall meetings. So we would begin to get on, everybody's kind of putting out there what's going on in their communities. So our association developed some protocols for us to follow. They created the signage. We had some beautiful stickers to put on our floor, for 6 feet apart. And again, these are rinks from all across the United States. So, we could kind of tune in what's going on in other locations. So I pretty much represented North Carolina operators. Somebody had to take the lead. I really thought another gentleman would. He didn't, so I said, well, I'll do it. And so I started calling Mandy Cohen's office, started calling the governor's office. I would email. And I had a couple of other operators, one from Fayetteville and Kernersville. They were pretty good about helping me too. And I pretty much monitored all of the governor's press conferences to determine, it seemed like they were starting to let things open up. And so where are we going to fit in?
Right.
And finally I was able to get a teleconference with Mandy Cohen's office. Okay. So there were 5 of us, 4 rinks, and then our executive director. And we were able to present our case. But unfortunately, they would not give us permission to open. She told me that no one received an exemption. So I had to kind of tell her, time out. I said, the governor just stated that the breweries had come to the Department
Right.
of Health and Human Services, and they had been granted an exemption. So if a brewery could get it, surely we could get it. You know, our market are teens, tweens, young families. These kids have been cooped up all this time. They needed an outlet.
Yeah.
And we did actually open a couple of weeks early, because at that point I'm like, I've given it enough time. That was 6 months. So I called Clee Atkinson, our sheriff, and I shared with him, you know, that I wanted to open. And he said he understood, and he said, I won't come after you. If anybody calls and complains, I'll call you. And I said, that's a fair deal.
Yeah.
So, you know, I believe California was the last state to open up. We were probably in the last 10 to open.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize we were that.
Yep, we were that far
far
behind.
back, yeah.
Yep.
Well-
I mean, it was amazing, really, when you stop and think about it.
Right. Well, you talk about, too, the different generations that come and skate. What's the popularity there? Is it more younger? Is it older? You know, you've been there for so long, I'm sure you've seen generations over time. I personally have celebrated quite a couple birthdays at Skyview Skateland. I've been in the little money machine. I have very fond memories. So I know that there's got to be multi-generations that are still represented there.
And you know, that's what we love to hear, that you've got those memories.
Yeah.
You know that's our little party machine, and
Oh,
that's
yes.
always our gift to the birthday child. It's just
wow.
cash cube
Yeah.
they get in, grab for
Right.
dollar bills. But yes, we're very heavy in third generation operators. We have some fourth. But you know, the majority of our customers are going to be tweens and teens.
Right.
Our afternoon sessions, we have families, and then we do have some adults that come back because this is their form of exercise. Typically, they grew up skating, so they're not afraid to come back and skate. Since COVID, roller skating has exploded. It's been a great time.
That's
Wow,
awesome.
That's great. I did not
It-
realize
yes.
that. That's great.
Skating has always been cyclical. You know, you
Right.
have 2 or 3 good years, and then you might have 5 slow years. But when COVID happened, I guess everybody out on the West Coast in California took off outside skating.
Oh.
Well, all of a sudden, we are faced with a shortage of skates inventory. And, you know, all the distributors, they have a pretty good inventory of skates, because we all sell skates all the time.
Right.
But, and then what happened, TikTok picked up all this skating. So once it hit TikTok, it just blew it out of the water.
Wow.
And it got very, very popular. So when we opened back up, you know, and it had started prior to that. We had a very good January, February, and 2 weeks of March before we closed. And as rink operators, we are used to banking
Right.
that strong money in the winter when it's cold and they can't go anywhere else. We are very much used to banking that money, because when we get over here to the summer, you know, your
Slows
crowd slows down. There's so much to do with their times. They're on the road traveling.
Right.
So it takes that revenue to cover these expenses. But we had an excellent beginning first quarter of 2020, and that's what helped us survive.
Oh, okay. Well, y'all, fastest 30 minutes on TV. We're halfway through it. We're going to take a little break here, run out to the kitchen, get another cold drink, fix some chips and a sandwich, and we'll see you back here in just a minute or two.
Senior Living Today, brought to you by these fine sponsors: Wires Inc., First Class Realty, Triangle East, and Ward Specialty Pharmacy.
Statewide Insurers Group gave us choices in our Medicare coverage. Check out their options to answer your insurance needs. The choice is yours.
At Statewide Insurance Group, we work with every client as an individual case. We try to find what's going to work for you and your needs.
We really do all the research. I like to say we do the nitty-gritty so you don't have to, so we can accommodate everything you need from start to finish.
At Statewide, we want to find the fit that works for you. You need to give us a call. We can do a life review, health insurance, and all of the above. And we're located at 880 Country Club Road, right here in Rocky Mount. And telephone number is 252-316-8166. We look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back. We are excited to have you back. We have with us today Denise Watkins from Skyview Skateland, and her title is like one of my favorite things ever. You're a CFO.
That's
Chief
right.
Fun Officer.
There
Fun
you go,
Officer. There you
Chief
go.
Fun Officer. Who
Yep.
doesn't want that title? Who doesn't want that? But perfect. Well, let's just dive back in.
Yeah, we were talking about the one thing you said that caught my attention, exercise.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that, and you know, to me, skating is definitely an aerobic exercise,
It is.
and it's what I would call low impact from the
Very much so.
the joints, you know, the knees and the ankles and the feet. You know, don't take the beating that you take out.
If you can
jogging.
avoid falling, it's
Yeah.
very low impact, you
There you
know,
go.
because it is not the stress on the joints like it is if you're jogging or running.
Right.
But I'll be 67 this month, and when I go in to get my physical, you know, Aaron Pico is who I see. He always says, "So, Miss Denise, are you still skating?" And I'm like, "You know, I'm skating. If I don't, who's going to teach these kids how to?"
Right.
And I am very blessed to be very healthy. I take no prescription drugs. And, you know, when he leaves, he's like, keep up that skating.
Yeah.
And, you know, doctors and health professionals, some have different attitudes toward it because, you know, some probably think it's very dangerous. Well, you know, an automobile's dangerous too.
Really?
So
Yeah.
if you're in an accident, are you going to quit driving? I mean, any part of life is risk, but
Well, you take the proper precautions. Because I was sitting here thinking about that. I mean, as a youngster, I have an uncle who is about 10 years older than I am, and when we were little kids, of course, when I was 5, he was 15. So when we were 2, 3, 4, and 5, we were skating. My grandparents' house had a huge concrete patio out beside the house, and it had 4 6 posts around it, and my uncle would teach us how to go careening towards the post and grab it and swing
around.
you know, and shoot off to the next post. You know, it was great because our parents never saw us do that. You know, I'm sure they would have had heart attacks if they were watching us out there, 5 kids just, you know, looking like ping pong balls bouncing around the room there. But it was I loved it. It was fun.
Well,
you know.
you say your parents would have had a heart attack. My dad took me to learn to one of the biggest hills in Nashville to just take off down the hill, and you got to figure out how to stop and twirl and do all the stuff. So Steve Cooper said, "We're just going to dive right into it, and you're either going to swim or flop."
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it. I said, well, if I went back out there, because I've thought about it, believe me, ever since I've known you, I thought I've got to break down and go out and start skating again, because I know it would be great exercise.
We'll have to do that as a fundraiser, because I feel that some people would show up.
They would pay money to
Just
watch
to see
me.
that.
Yeah, to watch
Well-
me fall. They would pay money for that. Yeah.
And I will say, currently, there is a huge interest in the adult population in roller skating.
Great.
And again, I think that has been a product of COVID. They see these folks skate on TikTok and they say, I want to skate like that. I have probably had more adults to call me to inquire about skating lessons
That's awesome.
So the adult population right now is very, very much interested.
So how do you do skating lessons, Denise?
Well, I typically offer them just prior to a public session on Saturday afternoons. It's about a 30-minute lesson and it's usually a group lesson, although I have done a few privates before. They come in, get their skates on, and then it's basically a 4-week type program. I'm going to teach you where your balance is, how to move your feet. So once you begin to roll and you have that balance concept, then we're going to start looking at like a scissors maneuver. That's where you go out and in. That's how you first start backwards. So they could actually try to backward skate. I'll show them and introduce the toe stop or a T-stop. And then we typically try to start learning how to cross over on the curves.
See, that's the part that always gets me. I'm good. I can push off, and typically for the most part straight, I'm golden. That curve though, when you got to do the crossover.
Probably afraid those wheels are going to catch.
I'm heading for that wall, bracing as hard as I can.
You know, some advance more quickly than others. I always say my job is to help you get self-confident in your skating. Because once you are confident, you're going to soar after that. And it's just a matter of you putting the time in, and then you'll come by and say, all right, Miss Denise, how do I do this?
That's right.
We'll go to the middle and we'll work, and then they'll practice, and they just get better and better all the time. So really, I tell, and in talking particularly with parents, if they're inquiring about their children for lessons, I tell them it's the continuity on a weekly basis until they gain that confidence.
Right.
Otherwise, they come tonight, wait 3 weeks, they have to start over again. You know, they've lost what little bit of confidence they might have gained.
Right.
And they've got to overcome that fear. But I tell most times anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks. If you could skate once a week, you know, they'll just pick it up and go after that.
Okay.
Well, it's just the time is flying, so I definitely want to touch on it. As far as the fundraising with Skyview, I want to get an update. Where are y'all at with that?
I tell you, I've been a little slow to share a whole lot because I don't want to jinx anything.
Right. Well, we got some wood right here. We'll knock on it for you.
But I can say that things are moving along very well.
Perfect.
We have raised just under $20,000. That is going to go a long way for us. At this point, I know I don't need $150,000 like we initially thought.
Oh, great.
You know, what we thought was going to be impact of water outside of the building ended up being a pipe, a leaky pipe.
Inside.
In that crawl space.
In that crawl space.
Okay.
Oh.
So repairing a pipe versus grading, encapsulation is a very big difference.
This is true.
Yes.
So at this point, we do not feel we need the encapsulation. And my nephew has started working on actually repairing the floor joists that are weak or that, you know, have deteriorated. So I'm hoping it's not going to be too much longer before we can say we can open.
Fantastic.
Oh,
I'm
hoping.
Great news.
And again, I had another gentleman to reach out to me and say, I can get your building materials at cost.
Oh,
Wonderful.
That is a huge savings.
Yes.
Well, that's a blessing, especially in today's time.
Yes, it is.
I know if you are building houses or anything, the cost with building supplies is just
huge.
Yes, so that is amazing.
Yes. So I've been telling people God's just brought all the right players in to help us get to this point. Yes.
That's wonderful.
So I'm excited and I'm ready because I miss those kids.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I know everybody else misses it too. I know everybody's waiting for that to open back up because it's such a staple in this community.
Now, do you see the Miss Denise adult skating, exercise, recreation class starting up here before too long.
I don't know. I don't think I can get enough adults to participate. I wish I could.
Now,
We got to call it all seniors.
We start,
gotta bring 'em out.
promoting this thing as an exercise class.
Maybe that'll get the interest.
Not a skating class, but an exercise class, because you learn your balance. I learned that in my water aerobics. Balance is everything.
Yes, it is.
That's what we worked on all the time, was in the deep water aerobics was your balance. And gosh, I know that from just, watching people that I know that are in their late 80s and 90s. It's definitely something that's
as we
important.
age, we do lose the edge on our balance. So if you can do things that require balance, it's most beneficial.
Yeah.
And when I teach, even children or young adults first, when they start coming back, I tell them how important it is for their balance.
Yeah.
And I tell them to flamingo at home. And that's just merely standing on one leg so that you're learning to balance on that one leg. You're there brushing your teeth, so flamingo. Or you're washing dishes, or you're at Walmart, flamingo, and then flip to your other. And begin to improve that balance, because even that will help tremendously in skating.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Well, folks, fastest 30 minutes in TV. We're about ready to close up shop here. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
Well,
We'd
thank
love to
you.
get your update and just the story, the background there. And tell folks where you are located, Denise.
I am actually located on Highway 64 alternate on the east side of Rocky Mount. We are just a quarter of a mile past the old Rocky Mount Fairgrounds. As you know, the fairgrounds are no longer there. As a matter of fact, one of my parents came in one night and said, Miss Denise, out there on the highway there's a sign that says Fairgrounds next right. You need to tell the state to change that to skating rink next right.
There you go.
There
I said, I like that idea.
That would be good. That would be good.
That is exit 472 off the 64 bypass.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Glad
It's been a
to hear the
pleasure.
story.
Yes, and
Thank
stay
you so
tuned
much.
on her social media. She's posting about updates and everything too, so be sure to stay tuned there. And come back next week. We got another show, Teaching
That's right.
Tuesday.
That's right.
With the one and only Cheryl Braswell and Joey Bright. It's always a treat. So stay tuned, come back.
Right.
We look forward to it. Have a good one, guys.
Y'all have a great week. Thank you for being here.